The fluorescent hallway lights flickered to life as Nurse Maya Thompson began her shift at St. Augustine Medical Center. It was just past 6:45 a.m., and the hospital was already buzzing, monitors beeping, carts rolling, sleepy patients groaning awake. Maya moved through the chaos with quiet focus, clipboard in hand, braid tied back neatly, eyes sharp behind clear glasses. She was known for her calm under pressure. In the 2 years since she transferred from a smaller clinic in Savannah, Maya had become the glue of the internal medicine unit. Residents came to her for second opinions. Patients asked for her by name. Even the night shift janitor trusted her more than some of the doctors. But not Dr. Ethan Warren. A white, seasoned physician with a reputation for being brilliant and brusque, Dr. Warren saw nurses like Maya as accessories, not colleagues. And Maya. She saw right through him, the arrogance, the fragile ego beneath the crisp white coat. That morning, they entered room 312 for rounds. A middle-aged man recovering from cardiac surgery greeted them with a weak smile. His wife sat nearby, eyes wide with concern. Maya had spent most of the night stabilizing the patient's oxygen levels and adjusting his pain meds. She began calmly reporting vitals and changes in blood pressure. But before she could finish her sentence, Dr. Warren raised his hand. "Enough, nurse. I'll take it from here." The words dropped like a cold weight in the room. He didn't even look at her. Instead, he turned to the patient's wife and began explaining the treatment plan, a version that excluded all of the overnight updates Maya had just gathered. The woman blinked, unsure. The patient shifted uncomfortably. Maya stood still, holding her clipboard, jaw tight. She said nothing. Not here. Not now. But something inside her hardened. As they moved to the next room, one of the interns leaned close and whispered, "You handled that better than I ever could." Maya just smiled slightly and replied, "This isn't the first time." What she didn't say was, "It might be the last." The break room was quiet, filled only with the low hum of the vending machine and the clink of a spoon against Maya's coffee cup. She sat at the far table, flipping through her notes from the night shift, trying, and failing, to shake the sting of that morning's humiliation. It wasn't the first time Dr. Warren had cut her off, but it was the first time he had done it so publicly, in front of a vulnerable patient and family. The problem wasn't just professional, it was personal. Disrespect laced with subtle condescension, always aimed squarely at her. That morning, another nurse, Angela, slid into the seat across from her. She leaned in, voice low. "Again?" she asked. Maya nodded slowly. Angela rolled her eyes. "I swear, the way he talks to you. If you were anyone else." "I am someone else," Maya said firmly, then softened. "And I document everything." Angela blinked. "You're keeping records?" "Dates, witnesses, summaries, I've got it all." Maya had always believed in the power of professionalism. If she raised her voice, they'd call her angry. If she got emotional, they'd say she was unfit. So she chose precision. Patience. Evidence. But beneath that calm demeanor, the fire was growing. She'd already filed 2 internal reports about Dr. Warren's conduct. HR responded with formality, "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We'll investigate further." That was 6 months ago. No change. No accountability. So Maya stopped waiting. That evening, she opened her laptop at home and updated her resume. She'd been quietly earning her certifications in clinical leadership and healthcare management. Few people knew she had already completed a master's in nursing administration online. She didn't want to leave her post, not yet. This was her floor. Her patients. Her team. But if the hospital wasn't going to correct Dr. Warren, she would outgrow him. Outrank him. And soon, reporting to him would become a thing of the past, for her, and for everyone else he dismissed. Maya clicked submit on her application to a newly posted position. Clinical Supervisor, Internal Medicine Department, now accepting internal candidates. Her hands trembled. But not with fear. With purpose. Maya returned to work with renewed resolve. She didn't advertise her application for the supervisor role. She didn't change her tone or approach. But everything about her presence began to shift, quieter, sharper, more focused. She moved with the certainty of someone who knew where she was headed. And people noticed. It started subtly. A junior doctor, flustered during a code blue, turned instinctively to Maya. She stepped in smoothly, giving crisp orders to the team, stabilizing the patient while the resident regained composure. Afterward, the attending physician quietly thanked her in the hallway, not with words, but with a look of genuine respect. Later that week, a patient wrote a glowing email to the department head. The message detailed how Nurse Thompson had taken the time to explain a complex diagnosis in plain English, something the patient said none of the doctors had bothered to do. Meanwhile, Maya's documentation was impeccable. Her patient outcomes were consistently above average. She mentored new nurses without ego. She handled conflict with grace. But perhaps most telling was what happened during a multi-team meeting about post-op recovery rates. Dr. Warren, as usual, dominated the table, speaking over others and quoting outdated protocols. When he dismissed Maya's suggestion to pilot a new pain management approach, a young surgical resident unexpectedly cut in. "I've seen Maya's system in action," he said. "It works. Our patients are recovering faster with fewer complications." Silence followed. Then nods. The head of nursing made a note. Maya didn't gloat. She simply looked at Dr. Warren and gave him a professional nod. He didn't return it. He was beginning to feel the shift, the quiet erosion of unquestioned authority. She wasn't just respected. She was being trusted. And that trust was growing in the places that mattered: leadership, patient advocacy, peer review. Without raising her voice, without seeking revenge, Maya was proving that true power doesn't announce itself. It simply rises. The conference room on the third floor of St. Augustine Medical Center was glass-walled, sleek, and intimidating by design. Sunlight streamed in through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the long oval table where Maya now sat, her hands folded neatly on a leather portfolio. Across from her sat three people: the chief of nursing, the director of clinical operations, and a senior administrator from HR. They had seen many applicants for this clinical supervisor position, but Maya was already a name they knew well. She wore a deep navy blazer, minimal jewelry, and an expression of calm confidence. Not forced, earned. "Thank you for being here today, Nurse Thompson," the chief of nursing began. "Let's talk leadership." "Why now?" Maya didn't hesitate. "Because this floor deserves better communication, stronger advocacy, and visible accountability. I'm ready to be part of the solution, not just from the bedside, but at the table where decisions are made." Over the next 30 minutes, Maya laid out a clear, actionable vision: improved interdisciplinary communication between doctors and nurses, bias awareness training, and a revised escalation protocol that gave more voice to frontline staff. She even referenced anonymized examples, like the one involving a senior doctor dismissing input that could have improved patient care. The panel listened closely. They didn't interrupt. Maya had earned that space. Afterward, they asked questions about conflict management, burnout, and managing team morale. She answered with clarity and humility, drawing on real experience, not theory. Her insights were not rehearsed, they were lived. When she finished, the director of clinical ops smiled and said, "You've clearly thought about this for a long time." "I've lived it," Maya replied softly. The panel thanked her and asked her to wait outside for a few minutes. Maya stepped into the hallway, heartbeat steady, but eyes scanning the floor as if she were back in the ER. Always composed. 10 minutes later, the door opened. The chief of nursing stepped out. "We won't need second-round interviews," she said, smiling. "Congratulations, Supervisor Thompson. Welcome to leadership." Maya blinked once, the only crack in her armor, then extended her hand. "Thank you," she said. "Let's get to work." She didn't think about Dr. Warren in that moment. But he would be thinking about her soon enough. The hospital's internal email arrived at precisely 8:02 a.m. Subject: Internal Medicine Department, Leadership Announcement. "We are proud to announce that effective immediately, Maya Thompson, RN, MSN, will serve as Clinical Supervisor of Internal Medicine. Maya brings outstanding leadership, clinical insight, and team collaboration to her new role. Please join us in congratulating her on this well-deserved promotion." Maya read it once in her office, then again. Though she already knew, had signed the offer days earlier, something about seeing it in writing made it real. Her name. Her title. No one could overlook it now. The buzz spread quickly through the halls. Nurses exchanged smiles and fist bumps. A few clapped when she walked past. Residents nodded with newfound deference. One intern whispered, "It's about time." But not everyone celebrated. Dr. Ethan Warren, seated at the nurse's station reviewing charts, read the email on his tablet. His eyes narrowed. He froze for a moment, rereading the line, Clinical Supervisor. Maya Thompson. He scoffed. By mid-morning, Maya chaired her first staff huddle, clipboard replaced with a leadership tablet, posture as grounded as ever. She stood at the center of the circle, flanked by nurses, doctors, pharmacists, techs, and across from her, Dr. Warren. Going forward, she began, I want open communication between teams. Respect will not be optional. Every voice at this table matters. Warren crossed his arms. And if someone feels dismissed or ignored, she continued, locking eyes with him for a moment, they can come to me directly. My door is open. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. When the meeting ended, staff trickled out energized. But Warren stayed behind. For a long moment, the two stood in silence. Then he muttered, I suppose congratulations are in order. Maya gave a small, measured smile. Only if you mean it, she replied, then turned and walked away. It wasn't spite. It was strength. For the first time in her career, she wasn't pushing uphill. She was leading forward. And the ones who once looked down on her? Now they looked up. It didn't take long for Maya's leadership to be felt. On her first week as supervisor, she implemented daily interdisciplinary briefings, mandatory for all shift leads, including physicians. This meant Dr. Warren now had to attend meetings run by the very person he used to disregard. The first one was tense. He arrived late, arms crossed, clearly expecting to assert control. But Maya didn't flinch. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Warren, she said calmly. Let's get started. Her agenda was focused, her voice clear. She moved through patient updates, staffing gaps, and flagged procedural issues with efficiency. She invited feedback, and when people spoke, she actually listened. Everyone noticed. At one point, when Warren tried to dominate a discussion about discharge protocols, Maya cut in, not rudely, but with unshakable authority. I appreciate your input, she said, but let's stick to evidence-based guidelines. We'll implement the revised protocol as planned. No room for debate. Warren blinked. The silence was heavy. A younger doctor took a breath and backed Maya's decision. Others nodded. The tide had turned, and Maya hadn't raised her voice once. Outside of meetings, she continued rounding, not to police, but to support. She checked in with nurses, thanked overworked techs, and personally followed up on patient concerns. The culture on the floor began to shift. Staff who had once felt invisible now felt heard. Residents felt safe to ask questions. Nurses walked a little taller. And Warren? He started to adjust, slowly, grudgingly. He stopped interrupting during rounds. He reviewed Maya's policies instead of dismissing them. He even apologized once, awkwardly, when she corrected a medication dosage he'd overlooked. It wasn't transformation. But it was change. One afternoon, Maya found herself alone in the hallway, watching as Warren gave clear, respectful feedback to a nurse without condescension. She didn't smile. But she noted it. Power didn't need to shout. It could simply lead, and be followed. 6 months later, the floor no longer felt like the same place. The tension that once hovered at every hallway had eased. Morning huddles now started on time, filled with real dialogue. Patient satisfaction scores were at their highest in years. Even the hospital board took notice. But none of that surprised Maya. What did surprise her happened on an otherwise normal Thursday. She was reviewing charts in her office when someone knocked. It was Dr. Warren. He stepped inside awkwardly, holding a small folder. I wanted to share this with you, he said, clearing his throat. Inside the folder was a draft proposal, a new patient care protocol that emphasized nurse-led discharge education, inspired by outcomes Maya had piloted. At the bottom of the page, it read, in collaboration with Supervisor Maya Thompson. Maya looked up, surprised. You wrote this? I did, he replied. And I'd like your feedback before I submit it. She paused. Not because she was uncertain, but because she finally saw it. Not just the words. Not just the protocol. The respect. It had taken time. Patience. And yes, pain. But it had arrived, not demanded, not forced, but earned. That evening, Maya stepped onto the floor for her rounds. A young black nurse in training caught her eye. The nurse had just finished assisting in a procedure, her hands still trembling slightly. "You did well," Maya said warmly. The young woman looked up, eyes wide. "Thank you. I want to be like you someday." Maya smiled, heart full. "You'll be better," she said. "Just don't let anyone tell you who you are." As she walked down the hall, nurses and doctors alike nodded at her, not out of obligation, but recognition. She hadn't just changed her job. She had changed the system around her. And now? That system worked with her, not against her.